Hey, what's up guys? Luke Profits. How can you keep your Amazon seller account in good standing? This video is going to be broken up into two parts and you're watching the second one right now. If you missed part one, go ahead and click somewhere up here. I should have it popping up right now on the screen. It should say daily task to do as a dropshipper or something like that. So go ahead and click on that and that'll take you to part one and then come back over here to part two. Part one is basically everything you need to do because of your metrics, and part two is sort of going over what your metrics are and how to keep them in check. So with Amazon, you can see your metrics by signing into Seller Central and then going to Performance, Account Health. There are several different things that can affect your account health, and you can see them here. You've got your customer service performance, your policy compliance, and your shipping performance. Each of these three different sections contain different things that can affect stuff. Let's go ahead and start with customer service performance. Customer service performance has one main metric, which is called order defect rate. Your order defect rate can be affected by three different things, and we're gonna go over those in just a second. Now you have to keep your order defect rate below 1%, or you can end up getting suspended. An important thing to note is that your order defect rate is calculated based on a 60-day window, so anything that happened longer than 60 days ago is gonna drop off. If you do let your order defect rate go above 1% though, it's super likely that you're gonna get suspended, and that suspension is very hard to appeal. So if it goes above 1%, you need to work really hard to get a bunch of extra sales to, drop it back down so it gets down below 1%, because you don't want to get suspended. Like I said, super difficult to get your account reinstated if you were suspended for basically having bad metrics, because it's like, oh, they're a bad seller, that's why they were suspended, why should we reinstate them? They're a bad seller, they screwed their metrics up, It's a whole lot easier to just not let it happen in the first place than it is to trying to, rush it, not really pay attention, not know what you're doing, and then, mess everything up and then try to appeal it. It's better to just not let it happen in the first place. Okay, so now let's get into it. What are the three things that affect your order defect rate percentage? The three things that affect your order defect rate percentage are A to Z guarantee claims, negative feedback, which is any, feedback that is 2 stars or less, and credit card chargeback disputes. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory, but let's go over each of them. Negative feedback. If a buyer leaves you a rating of 2 stars or less, you have just gotten negative feedback. That's unfortunately going to count against your order defect rate, so just try to list good products that are not, rated 1 star or 2 stars when you're sourcing products. Look for items that have 3 or 4 stars, 5 stars, something like that. Products that people have gotten and they're like, yes, this is a good product. You don't want to be selling crap. If you don't know how to source products, by the way, I've got a whole video that goes over how to source products, so go ahead and click up here. If nothing's popping out right now, that's probably just because I forgot to put the link, so go ahead and leave a comment with the time code, and I will go ahead and update that with the link there. Or you can probably just search my channel and find it, but still, comment below so that I can remember here to fix it. A to Z guarantee claims. Now, these are kind of like the equivalent of cases with eBay, except for you don't get them as frequently, but they're worse when you do get them. You usually really only get them when there's some sort of, massive issue. The product wasn't delivered, or the wrong product was delivered, or it was broken, or something like that, and you didn't let them return it, or there was some sort of issue with the return process. That's usually when this kind of thing happens. Maybe it was the unreturnable item or something like that. Before a buyer can open an A to Z guarantee claim, they have to send you a message and basically tell you what the problem is, and you have a full 48 hours to respond to that and deal with it. So the best way to prevent A to Z guarantee claims from even coming up is sort of to have really good customer service and, just make sure you address any issue before it turns into an A to Z guarantee claim, because like I said, you don't want to get these. They're not fun, and good customer service can prevent most of them. As long as you're providing great customer service, and there are actually some tricks to that. I'm probably going to do a whole video about it, so go ahead and click up here. If anything's popping out, then I did make a video, and if not, leave a comment asking me to make it, because I probably should do that, and I think it'd be helpful. As long as you're giving good customer service, you can prevent most of these A to Z guarantee claims. But if you do end up getting them, you have to win. Basically, unlike with other platforms, with A to Z guarantee claims, there are 2 options, and that is you win or you lose. You can't really, have anything where it's like, oh, you were wrong, but you refunded the buyer, and so that makes it not count against your account. No. With Amazon, because they're so strict, basically, if you did something wrong and messed up, the A to Z guarantee claim sticks, and it's gonna hurt your account and counts against your order defect rate. Or if the buyer's wrong and their, claims are kind of ridiculous and they're not covered, then you're gonna win the case, and, the buyer, you don't have to refund the buyer or anything like that. But a very important thing to make a mental note of is that this is not like cases with eBay, and that, with eBay, if you have a case and say you mess something up, right, and the case gets opened, you can just say, well, I did the wrong thing, I don't want the case to affect my account, I'll send a full refund to the buyer, and because I refunded the buyer, that gets rid of this case for me. Not how it works with Amazon. On Amazon, A to Z guarantee claims, even if you're like, oh, I did the wrong thing, and you refund the buyer, that's not gonna make the defect go away from your account. Refunding the buyer, great, whatever, but it makes literally no difference to Amazon if you refund the buyer, if you don't. They just don't want the A to Z guarantee claim to have come up, and then they're going to decide, okay, what needs to happen here. If you lose, obviously you're going to have to refund the buyer. If you win, then probably not. A to Z guarantee claims are very binary. You win or you lose. There's no like, you know, giving the buyer their money back to make it go away or anything like that. So just prevent them altogether from happening by offering really good customer service. Like I said, the buyer has to contact you 48 hours beforehand, so you totally have plenty of time to respond to this and resolve most of these issues. And most of them are like, you know, non-returnable products or something like that. So some sort of problem, there's an issue, and for some reason returns didn't work. That's usually why these come up. Now let's move on to credit card chargeback. Now I think it's kind of silly that Amazon includes this because there's not a whole lot that you can do about it. Basically, whenever you're selling something on Amazon, you know, the person's buying with the credit card, and the person always has the option to say like, oh, I bought this thing, and then they can be like, oh, well, it was fraud. I didn't offer, you know, I didn't want to buy that or something like that, and they'll try to reverse the payment with their credit card, which isn't good. It's a little bit risky on the buyer's end because if you do it too much, then of course the bank's just going to shut down your account because it's, you know, you're not allowed to just pay for something and then reverse the charge all the time. Buyers can't really do it all that much because it's pretty risky for them, but if that does happen and then, you know, the money gets taken back and they have the product, then that's, you know, that's going to get counted against you. Like I said, not a whole lot you can do about it, but pretty infrequent thing, doesn't really happen very often, so not something that you should super worry about it. Just know that you might see it here or there. I think mainly they have this included with metrics in case something sketchy is going on where, you know, you're selling a ton of products and most of them are getting chargeback cases on them or something like that. Amazon just sort of needs an excuse to be able to get rid of those sellers. So I think that's kind of why this is here, but maybe if, you know, if there's some other valid reason for this being here, leave a comment below because I can't really think of one. Chargeback cases are just something that happens when you're doing business. It happens sometimes, and it's not fun, but Amazon makes you responsible for it, so it's good to be aware. So those are the things that affect your order defect rate, which is the main thing under customer service performance. So those three things, again, those are just negative feedback, which is any feedback that's 2 stars or less, A to Z guarantee claims, and chargeback claims. Basically just take the total number of, you know, any of those issues that you've had divided by your total number of orders in the past 60 days, and that'll give you your order defect rate. Again, you do not want your order defect rate to go above 1%, or you're at a strong risk of getting your account suspended, and then it's going to be hard to get back because basically in Amazon's mind, if your account's suspended for, you know, a high order defect rate, that just means you're a bad seller, you're worse than all the other sellers. So, you know, why are they going to want to reinstate your account? You're a bad seller. Your metrics are showing you're a bad seller. So it's far better to just prevent that initially and just not let your order defect rate go above 1% than it is to basically like have it happen, get suspended, and then try to fight and appeal it, because just prevent it in the first place. Don't let it happen. Now moving on to the next and easiest section of your metrics, policy compliance. This is mainly dealing with things like listing IP brands that are, you know, bad brands that you're not allowed to drop ship. If you're using Reprice Hub, like I recommend, you're automatically protected from all this, because when you go to list items, they just block any bad brands, and they'll, you know, they'll tell you, they'll be like, hey, this is a bad brand, you know, are you sure you want to list this? This is not a good item. And basically you have to be like, yes, I understand this is a bad brand, I want to list it anyway. Don't do that. You're always going to want to block bad brands. But yeah, as long as you're using Reprice Hub, you're totally safe from that. So I've got a link down here too, Reprice Hub, 30% off your first month, and there's a free trial on there too. So just go ahead and use this link, and then if you do decide that you want to get it, it's great. Highly recommend it. And you really need it if you're dropshipping on Amazon. But yeah, go ahead and use the link that is on the screen here, or click the link. I'll have it in the description as well. I've even done videos on like setting it up, an overview of how it works and stuff. So I'll have a little pop-out thing up here that you can click on to go through the setup and like see how Reprice Hub works and all that stuff. You can click somewhere up here, or if I forgot, you know, just leave a comment and I will go ahead and update that. So yeah, policy compliance, as long as you're following what I'm saying and showing in these videos, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Usually just stuff like bad brands, which you're protected from if you're using Reprice Hub, and then selling like knockoffs of stuff. If Amazon thinks that the product isn't genuine, or you're selling it, you know, cheap, fake, or something like that of the same product. Those are the main things, and it's sort of all broken out so you can see what the certain violations are for. There's even like a spot that shows you suspected violations that aren't actually violations yet, but they just, you know, think there might be a problem there. So that's pretty much it for the policy compliance, section number 2 of the 3 things of keeping your, you know, Amazon metrics in check. Moving on to the last one, shipping performance. Now, obviously, it's super important to be getting all of your items to your buyers in the time that you say it's going to take to get it to them. Nobody likes having a package that they ordered and they think it's going to be here and they're excited for it, and then it's late, especially if it's by a couple days. You know, you got to be delivering your products on time. Nobody likes having their products be delivered late. And there's always the temptation to try to say, oh yeah, I can deliver it a little bit faster because you're going to get more sales. sales if you say you're offering faster shipping, but if you don't deliver on that time, it's gonna hurt you in your metrics. What you really wanna be doing is giving yourself absolutely enough time for you to order the product from your supplier and have your supplier ship it to the buyer. And you don't wanna be like, oh, you know, like really cutting it right to the edge. You need to give yourself a couple days of buffer so that, you know, in case anything goes wrong, there's a delay, anything like that, it's probably not going to affect your account and you're still going to be delivering the products within the time that you stated. Plus, that's got the added benefit of it makes customers happy. They think they're going to get it by the 10th, but then they end up getting it on the 6th. Nice, right? That makes them happy. Your shipping performance is based on a 30-day window, so anything that is older than 30 days, you know, doesn't really apply anymore. And it's basically just a measurement of how much stuff is being delivered on time. Everything needs to be delivered on time, but you can have basically 1 out of every 25 orders that ends up being late by a little bit. But like I said, you don't want to have much of it at all, but if you have more than 1 out of every 25 orders be late, you're going to get suspended because, of course, you're going to be outside of your metrics for that area. You need to have at least 96% of your sales delivered on time in any given 30-day window. You also have a separate section under your shipping performance that's called valid tracking rate, and as long as, you know, stuff is being delivered on time and you're uploading the tracking like I've been telling you, you're not going to have any issues with this. The only case where you would really have issues with your valid tracking rate is if, say, like the supplier gives you a tracking number and a digit's off or something like that. So some sort of mistake is made there where you've got the tracking, but it's not the right tracking number because the supplier made some sort of error in giving you the tracking or something like that. You know, that kind of thing can happen. Or if you were doing a workaround that it's not something you want to do much. It's like really an absolute last resort kind of thing where you need to cancel an order, but you know you can't cancel an order because it's going to ding your metrics. So you sort of have to do a workaround where you basically cancel the order for the buyer, but to Amazon it still looks like the order hasn't been canceled. So I did a whole video on this. There's a link up here. So go ahead and click that. It's basically the safe way to cancel an order without really canceling the order, but you know has the same effect as canceling the order. So click up here. It should be popping up right now. And if it's not, I probably forgot to link it. So go ahead and leave a comment down there and remind me with the time code. I'm not going to go into too many details here about how that works, but just know if you do that too much, it can mess up this number. So that's why you want to do it as little as possible, and it's like really a last resort kind of thing. As long as you're uploading most of your tracking numbers on time, your valid tracking rate should look fine, shouldn't really be an issue, not going to cause you any problems. The last thing under shipping performance is your pre-fulfillment cancel rate. So this is basically the number of orders that you have canceled, and it goes on a 7-day window, not a 30-day window, not a 60-day window. It goes on a 7-day window, which is kind of surprisingly short, right? Any orders that you cancel for any reason other than, you know, the buyer asked to cancel are going to be counted against you here because you're not allowed to cancel orders on Amazon. Generally, you know, if you get an order, even if it's not profitable, you're losing a few bucks on it, you still have to fill the order anyway because that's how it works with Amazon. If you're using software like Reprice Hub, which I strongly recommend using, go ahead, go to this link that I'm showing on screen and you'll get 30% off your first month, or you can click the link in the description and sign up through Reprice Hub that way. Reprice Hub is great because it basically, whenever prices change from your supplier, it'll get those price changes and update them in your Amazon account so you're never selling a product at a loss. Or if it goes out of stock from your supplier, then you're not going to be selling a product that, you know, you can't then go order, which would be a big problem here, right? Because you can't cancel orders. Now, of course, if something, you know, terrible did happen and you absolutely had to, you can use that video that I mentioned previously about that sort of sneaky way to cancel an order without really canceling an order, but really not a good plan. You don't want to rely on that. And like I said, it can mess up your valid tracking rate. So don't use that. It's pretty bad. That's just for like absolute worst case scenario. If you're going to lose 20 bucks or 30 bucks or, you know, something like that on an order, you're probably going to want to just still fill it anyway because you can't really cancel orders on Amazon. Remember, you can only cancel 1 out of every 50 orders that you get on Amazon. So just as a rule, never cancel orders. And if you do have to cancel an order, then use that workaround that I mentioned before. Now, one good thing that you do also want to remember is that you can cancel orders if a buyer specifically asks you to cancel. Like if a buyer's like, hey, never mind, sorry, changed my mind, can you cancel the order? Then that's fine. You just say that the buyer asked to cancel the order and that's not counted against you at all. But Amazon is not like eBay in that on eBay you can just say, oh, buyer asked to cancel even when they didn't and it doesn't really hurt you. On Amazon, not the best plan. You want to actually have the buyer ask you to cancel and, you know, then you can cancel. You can even say like, hey, there was a problem with your order, blah, 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 something like that, and ask them to send in a cancellation request and then use that cancellation request as sort of your justification notification to cancel as buyer has to cancel. But yeah, rule of thumb, you can't cancel orders on Amazon unless the buyer is asking you to cancel the order. So yeah, pre-fulfillment cancel rate, it's on a 7-day window. You can't have that number go above 2.5%. So basically, out of every 50 orders, you can cancel one, but just, rule of thumb, just never cancel orders and you'll be better off. And that's it. As long as you're shipping orders on time, you're not canceling orders, you're not listing IP brands because you're using Reprice Hub, which protects you from those. And of course, link right here, you can sign up here, or link down there in the description for 30% off. They have a great free trial and everything too. Yeah, not getting A to Z guarantee claims, not getting chargeback claims, any of that kind of stuff, you're gonna be fine. Well guys, that's it for the video. If you're new to dropshipping on Amazon and you're trying to figure out how to get started, I've got a full free set of training videos down there, link in the description. Goes over everything you need to know to get started dropshipping on Amazon. And Amazon's great because compared to other platforms, it's actually super easy to get sales with very few listings because there's so many more buyers on Amazon and so many few sellers that you're competing with compared to other platforms like eBay. If you've got any questions about anything dropshipping related, feel free to hit me up on Facebook. I'll put a link down there, as well as a link to a group that I started that has hundreds of other dropshippers in it that you can join. I post new content on this channel every few days, so go ahead and subscribe and hit the notifications, and I'll be back with another video in a couple days.